Good afternoon. I know we have a challenging session because of the post-lunch, but I think let's make it so interactive that I think you can possibly skip sleeping itself. So that is a challenge we'll just both of us together can take it. My name is Ajit Jangle and I'm quite honored to be a panelist for the today session, which is the second session, transforming operations through the smart warehousing. Since morning, I think you must have gone through many sessions and we understood that how exactly this industry changed in last 30 years from the go down to the very, very high-end supply chain warehousing area. And this pace is really moving forward. But then interesting is that for next 10 years, this will be much challenging because the customers' expectations are enhancing every day, and this is thanks to the e-commerce. What we were happy with 1 month delivery gone to 15 days and then 7 days and 3 days and 1 day, and now we are talking about the minutes. So I think this journey putting a lot of challenges on the supply chain industry, which you and me. But then today we are trying to address some of the aspects of the smart warehousing with a very enlightened panelist over here. And I request each of them to introduce themselves in maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Maybe starting from you.
Hey, hi Ajit and hi all the esteemed panelists. First of all, thanks to CII for hosting this wonderful event. My name is Sreerangarajan. People call me Shri because it's a very big name. I head what is called as logistics and customer services for NIVEA India, which is a biased off subsidiary. What I do is technically the entire distribution piece plus logistics, which encompasses primary, secondary transportation, warehousing, plus the customer service part, which is technically the entire order to cash. And prior to this, I've been mostly in FMCG. I worked with J&J Consumer, Godrej Consumer Products, very brief stint with Amazon India. I've done roles in planning, manufacturing, digital strategy, procurement, and this is in fact my first role in logistics, and that's why I make it a point to attend all these conferences so that I can learn something, because I've been all my life I've been a generalist who have been trying to solve business problem through the functional things. So nice to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, like to thank CII for having me here. My name is Vijay Shetty, and at present I head the global supply chain and distribution for the for a pharma company, Alkem Laboratories Limited. Prior to this, I worked for companies like BASF, Cipla, Glenmark, DSMs. My 27 years of my journey has been in supply chain area, and in every organization what I try to do is to how do we add value for the organization and trying to create I would say a reliable image for the organization, saying that how we can add consistent value not only from a top line perspective but business. So in my present role, I have the entire global supply and the demand planning, the entire distribution network planning, as well as the management of it. We have close to almost like 12,000 distributors across India and almost like close to 700 customers across internationally. We are covering a space of almost like 60 CFAs, 30 depots, 10 mother warehouses, almost 21 manufacturing plants. That's the scale of operations that I manage at present, along with my team, of course. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Vijay. Ranjan?
Hi, thanks, Ajit. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ranjan Sharma. I am the CIO and the head of supply chain for Bestseller India. Bestseller India is part of a global organization, which is a Danish company. We are a house of brands. We have more than 30 odd brands that we operate around the globe, out of about 52 countries. In India, we operate 6 brands: Jack & Jones, Veremoda, Only, Selected, Jack & Jones Juniors, and Veremoda Girls. So 2 men's, 2 women's, and 2 kids brands. My role is largely to be able to manage, one is future-proof our business from a supply chain and a technology perspective, and a very, very interesting role, because when I sit at and wearing both these hats, there are a lot of problems that I see on both the sides, which is solvable by each other. And both the departments actually are so much more engaging in terms of being able to deliver a solution, because one cannot live without the other. Technology alone cannot deliver anything if it does not deliver a value to the end consumer, to my internal customer or to my end consumer. The other part is my supply chain cannot move ahead if they do not adopt technology, because technology is the game today, and that's where embedding these two roles have actually given me the leverage to be able to manage supply chain much more efficiently and take it to a level where we are able to, yes, we've had a fair share of challenges, a fair share of problems, and we still do that today as well. Nothing can be perfect, but kudos to the team who actually keeps working hard to manage some of the serious events which like COVID and then post-COVID, some of the daunting tasks or challenges that are different businesses, because we operate almost about 9 different business channels from the same distribution center, from the same inventory levels, from the same facility, and using the same manpower. So smartly being able to manage all of them, all of their needs could be different. That's where we come in, and that's where we deliver as a team.
Yeah. Thanks, Ranjan. I think you are a very unique position where the technology and supply chain together, which is really a requirement of the industry, if you ask me.
Yeah, really. Thank you.
Dhirendra, over to you.
Thanks, Ajit. I am Dhirendra. I am representing Ultratech building product division. So I'm taking care of the supply chain, where both the inbound, outbound, and also demand planning and sales planning. So from representing a construction, chemical and manufacturing based industry, warehousing, because I can say that we are having omnipresence, where almost 500 plus area of distributions point and plants, almost 70 plus plants across India. So distributed uniformly across to have a more proximity to the demand centers. So the challenges and the points like having the technology imbibed to the demand requirements is always, and my role is to get like the way which you talked about, that in service it is on time, in full delivery, in cost efficiency. So these all are a part of my role. Before Ultratech, almost even 16 plus years, I was also a part of Reliance, UB Group and Godrej. So looking forward to have a fruitful discussions and experience sharing. Thank you.
Thanks, Dhirendra. Over to you, Piyush.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ajit. I am representing Addverb Technologies. Now, Addverb is in the business of automation, material handling equipments, robotics, and the associated softwares. I have total 24 years of experience. In the past life, I had worked for companies like Amazon, NIVEA Consulting, and Zomato. And with this, my total experience, I was in the space of solving problems of my customers, be it supply chain, planning, distribution, or warehouse designing and automation. That's the brief about me. Thank you.
Thanks. Sagar?
So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, Mr. Ajit, for moderating this session. I would also like to extend my gratitude towards all my fellow panelists. So it's an honor to be here and to have an opportunity to discuss on such an important topic for the industry. So yeah, myself, Sagar Raghorte. I am heading the supply chain and production for the Belgian Waffle company. So Belgian Waffle company is the only Indian origin dessert player in India, with having a 550 plus outlet presence throughout the India. And we are operating through 4 warehouses pan India. Earlier I was associated with the Pratap Snacks, which is a FMCG player based out of Indore. Yeah, so my role in Belgian Waffle is mainly to come up with a strategic innovation in the back end, so that that can help to scale up our business. Thank you.
Thanks, Sagar. I'm so excited because we have all industries here, like a food, technology, industrial, retail, pharma, and FMCG, almost like a 60% of the whole GDP here. And I was just counting, we are almost having 150 years of experience on this stage, and I'm very sure maybe 10,000 years of experience of the stage also. So it is not something that we know something and you don't know, or you know. I think it's an exchange. Only thing is that CII given opportunity us to speak on some of the topics, and many people are there or spoken and they are sitting there. So we like to have exchanges over the period of time. But then as for format, Piyush, I request you to share with us about the technology, the disruption which you are bringing to the supply chain in a presentation form.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Ajit. And thank you, CII, for giving us the opportunity to present about transforming operations through smart warehousing. And having a section after lunch, hope I should be able to engage you so that we don't doze off, right? So is smart warehousing is a need of an hour, or what does smart warehousing means? I think there is no clear-cut definition for this. And people have different ways and views looking into smart warehousing. Some people feel that if my warehouses are connected, I'm getting the MIS timely, that's good as a smart warehousing. But is that really so? So what we feel is that with the as and when the operations complexity increases for any warehouse, the warehouse has to be far more agile to adapt to those processes or the new challenges which are coming up, and that adoption process should be smart. And that's what we call as smart warehousing. Now, how we define or understand how the complexities will increase, or what is the definition of these complexities? So for a layman, or we can classify into two in a matrix of, let's say, SKU and batches and throughput. So having high number of SKUs and high throughput will automatically increase the complexity of your operations. Having high throughput and low number of batches, low number of SKUs, that also increase the complications of your operations. The least complicated will be low throughput and low batches, and none of the industry or the organization would like to be in that, right? So a few examples of the industries which are in different quadrants. Let's say low throughput and high SKUs, these are the industries which is either very high value items like jewelry, smartphones, because the variety of SKUs is huge and throughput is not very high. But this is also, handling this is also very complex. Then the industries which are having high throughput and high SKU complexities is e-commerce, fashion, FMCG, auto spares, all these industries, you name it, none of them is running below, I would say, 40, 50,000 SKUs in auto spares, so some 100,000 plus SKUs in e-commerce. And if you look at fashion, they have another complexity of seasons, changes, returns. So then, and again, the fashion industry also has lots and lots of SKUs with categories of men's, women's, kids, core, seasons. So all these things increase a lot of complexities in the operations. And then lastly, the low SKU complexity, but very high throughput. For example, salt and cement, right? This again is a complex operation to handle. Now, with added industry or added, I would say, multi-channel, omni-channel distributions over the past decade, the way it has evolved and the customer expectations, the way they have evolved, any operations becomes a complex operations for us to handle. Now, warehousing, be smart enough to adapt to these changes, how quickly, that's what we call smart warehousing is, right? Now, what should be the approach for smart warehousing? When it comes to the approach, when we look at, it's a continuous process. Earlier, I would say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, what used to happen is, once you design a warehouse, you implemented it, and you are done. You don't need to look at things for a few years, at least for 3-4 years. And then again, when the business grows to that level, beyond that level capacity of the warehouse, you start looking into again. But in today's scenario, what happens is you get into the material flow engineering, you design the flows, you understand, break it as per the industries and the processes, then select the right mix of equipments which are required to fulfill the processes and the flows, the material flows. Then definition of optimal processes. This is another very important point which people don't stress in the industry. This is a stage which is very important, because you can have a best of the software, but if your processes are not clear, the software cannot do miracles for you. Right, and it's a common saying that even if you look at the best of the breed ERPs, which is an SAP, how many installations of the SAP is not giving the results what was desired from them, right? So this point number 3, this is very important, that I define what I want from my warehouse. Then you go to the software selection, and finally the analytics for improvement, because next time you have to revisit, and that next time is not very far away. That next time could be few months down the line, because all of a sudden your sales team comes and they say, boss, we are starting a new distribution channel or a new sales channel. Warehouses has to gear to support those processes and business, right? So characteristics of smart warehousing are, a warehouse has to be flexible, right? It enables rapid adoption to the changing workflows, right? Then it has to be modular, that as my business growth or each and every component of my warehouse I can add as a modularity. Then scalability is that beyond my certain set of throughputs and numbers, I can scale it easily without any challenges. So these are the few characteristics what I thought would be good for us to brainstorm and define that these are the set of means which can add to smart warehousing, right? Now we'll again look into the warehousing, smart warehousing landscape, that what is the kind of how the automation is driving things when it comes to the warehousing landscape. If you look at, we have revisited the entire SKU batch and throughput as a matrix. So the companies which are doing low SKU complexities and low throughput, they can still live with mechanized warehouse. But the companies which have high SKU complexity and high throughput, they are tending towards the automation, because the choices are not there, right? One warehouse has to handle multiple industries, omni-channel distribution, multiple processes, reverse logistics. So all these things are coming part of it. So then automation comes into the picture for speeding up things. Otherwise, we are having battalion of people in the warehouse. Now, how does the opportunities and business growth defines the warehousing landscape? When we look at the automation part also, there are two sets of automations which are available, fixed automation and flexible automation. Flexible automation is something like, it's like a plug and play kind of system. I can add on the go, my changeover times are less. However, that also has the restrictions in terms of handling, utility, or storage space efficiency. Fixed automation is far defined towards utilizing the space and also the other aspects in terms of when I have my complete business clarity or my business is matured enough. So the organizations which are in, I would say, low business maturity, which they have started the business, they don't know much about it, they don't know what would be the kind of growth. Today they are starting with 40,000 square feet, tomorrow they may go with 1 lakh square feet or 2 lakh square feet. They want their assets to get utilized. And how will that asset get utilized? That can only happen through flexible automation. That I use some flexible automation in this warehouse. When I grow to a second warehouse, or when I go to the second warehouse, or a bigger size warehouse, depending upon my business operations, I can mobilize that asset. Now that implementation and changeover time should be minimum. Now these are the certain characteristics of my flexible automation. Organizations which are having high business maturity in terms of high business maturity in terms of they know their business is stable at this point of time. they are looking at the current future growth, they can go with a mix of fixed and flexible automation. How fixed and flexible automations can be looked at is that when we look in the warehouse, each and every part of the warehouse or each and every process of the warehouse can be automated. When it comes to, let's say, loading, unloading activity, that can be a part on. So you may not go for the entire automation of the warehouse, but you can select the processes which you want to automate or which are becoming a bottleneck in your entire operations, right? So we'll look into the processes soon. Like if you look at inbound and outbound automation, there are set of conveyors which can help. There are set of AGVs and AMRs which can help in doing the movement and the transportation. Then when it comes to put away and storage and inventory management, there are both for carton handling, tote handling, we have equipments like multi-level shuttles, carton shuttles. We have four-way shuttles for pallet handling. ASR is for utilizing vertical height. And last but not the least is the Veloz for carton handling, which is again a robotic storage and retrieval equipment. When it comes to picking, we have pick-to-light systems, then pick-by-voice systems, then again AMRs assisted picking. That person does not need to carry a trolley. This AMR carries a trolley and the person just keep on picking things. So these are mix of fixed and flexible automation available in the industry which can help in making the warehouse far more flexible and adapt to changes. Sorting, there are different kinds of sorting equipments available. Fixed sorting equipments like vertical sorting, sorting robot, and flexible sorting equipments is like a small robot which is sorting each and every piece of the product, right? So this is how, this is another way what we have looked into is that what all are my fixed automation equipments and then what all are my flexible automation equipments which can help us in getting the warehouse being smart enough, right? Then lastly is the software suite which encompasses, or I would say which stitches all these things together in terms of performance, efficiency, how each and every equipment has to perform to the optimal level of efficiency it has to perform, what is the kind of ideal state of those equipments, and the health conditions. So there is warehouse management system which takes care of the entire warehouse as an operation, which is like a mind behind it, mind of your warehouse. Then warehouse execution systems. This is another part of the warehouse management system which does the task and resource optimization and task management. Then warehouse control system, when there is an automation equipment involved, this is the part of the software which helps in getting into the controls of the warehouse. Like, for example, PLC programming and all comes part of the warehouse control systems. Then fleet management system is not nothing to do with the truck fleets. This fleet management system is managing the fleet of the robots which are working in your warehouse, so that the movement and tracking becomes easier. And lastly is the yard and the dock management system which helps us in appointment and scheduling of the vessels and vehicles which are incoming and outgoing to the warehouse. And software competencies. So a software shall be should be a hardware agnostic, like a software shall connect multiple type of equipment from multiple vendors at one platform. That should be the competencies which the software should have, right? Then cloud and ERP integration should be very seamless. That is another very important competency which this entire suite of warehouse management system should have. Then followed by microservices based architecture, which is far more easier or quicker way of implementing the solution and having a seamless connectivity. And smart algorithms powered by AI. Now AI is a buzzword nowadays. So what AI is that, again, self-learning and machine learning, and then helping the operators or within the warehouse which so that they can take informed decisions, right? The advantages of these are being intuitive, modern, easy to use, easy to train people. Another important thing, there was a point here in the agenda was that what would be the impact or the skill level of people, right? Thanks to smartphones, that our people are far more comfortable in using any screens, right? Because we are using smartphones day in, day out, and even now smartphones has been accessible by, I would say, at every level. So the people are far more comfortable they are means today what they were 20 years ago, right? Explaining them a handheld device was like what it is. It's like an animal which you have given them in their hand and they don't know what to do with that. That's a brief about. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks, Piyush. I think you set a right tone for the panel discussion. The beauty of supply chain is that although how much fundamental we know, but when it comes to the different supply chain is different supply chains, because you have to apply that knowledge. So whatever applies to the, let's say, or relevant to FMCG may not be with the pharma, and absolutely retail is a completely different ball game. So I like to understand from the panelists that currently what challenges you and your industry is facing, and how exactly you are harnessing those challenges by using the smart warehousing and technology and the skilled people.
Thanks, Ajit. I think any pertinent question to business is, if you're doing something, why at all you do it? Yeah? So that's the first question we as a business manager ask. Broadly, I'll tell you our warehousing strategy as we see it for the future is basically based on 3 larger trends that we see. One is my end consumer or shopper. The way we see it is today my consumer knows so much about the product ingredients, and there is so much of knowledge proliferation that earlier my career as a business analyst there, we used to do this customer segmentation, right? There are 2-3 variables, price, affordability, etc., and then you do. So now God knows how many variables are there. It's 15, 16 odd. So what it essentially means from the warehousing perspective is that the number of tail SKUs or the customized SKUs that are handled are significantly more. What I mean by that is traditionally people say Pareto, which is 80-20. So your 80% of the business comes from 20% of the SKU. What we are seeing is that number is no longer 20 now. It's either 40, 45. That's puts tremendous stress on warehousing. There is also this trend, there are so many emerging companies, B2B, direct e-commerce. What then happens is that the market is no longer a homogenized market. We end up playing battles, what we call it as micro battles at a city level. So that increases the assortment complexity. So that is one. Second, the entire route to market that FMCG's companies take so much pride in building up. So we say that we are a country having 1.2 million odd Kirana stores, and typically a distribution is my competitive advantage. We believe it's no longer the case. Anyone can enter anywhere and kind of get snatched from you. But we do believe that will give you scale. Nevertheless, what happens is that unfortunately the traditional CFAs that we are used to operate are designed to serve GT customers, right? They don't have the capability to service, let's say, e-com customers who might be wanting some kind of packaging customization, bundling, advanced shipping notices, optimizations, etc. And I did mention in the previous panel, someone did talk about, the quick commerce company which are delivering in 20 minutes. What essentially is that these guys operate dark stores, which are substituted a Kirana store in its traditional form. What it means to us as a supply chain partner is, in a historical sense, I could have serviced that Kirana store through a distributor who would be holding 15-day inventory. Right now, these guys have so much, in a sense, demanding in such a way that you might have to replenish them every day, which my current warehouses don't have that capability. The last piece of the entire thing is on the supply side as well. So we are prone to so much disruptions of late. Element of consolidation that is happening, contrary to the perception that more risk means more consolidation, etc. Because during these times of stress, there is only so many players who can supply us goods, with the right amount of confidence that we end up consolidating there also. So net, if you ask any supply chain guy who ends up designing all this, we say to absorb any of this complexity, you put in a safety stock, right? So safety stock is basically a safety sponge that absorbs all this complexity and then gives it out. And warehouses are at the core of all that is. And technically warehouses or the inventory that we operate don't also go up. So for us, if I were to just summarize whatever I said so far in a line, with the existing asset, if my warehouses can increase the throughput, managing the agility, while without compromising my quality. Those are the enablers that we are looking at whenever we implement any smart warehousing solutions.
Thanks, Sri. I think you summarized it very properly, because that gives that you are clear in your mind that as far as your company as FMCG is concerned, what is expected by your customers and whether the warehousing or supply chain or backend can able to support that. So with that, we move to Vijay.
Yeah. From a pharma perspective, things are different. I would say India pharma companies, I would say, would think differently. From an India warehousing perspective, there are two models which predominantly run. One is the CFA model, and the other is to do with running the operations ourselves. At Alkem, most of our branded business operations are run by us. So we have our own team, of course, with the support staff to run the entire operations, as well as from a CFA for a generic business, we also have that which accommodates. Majorly the principles here are like when I go to CFA, it's more from a percentage perspective on my turnover. I don't look at something to do with how much I would save from that, I would say from those transactions kind of a thing. Having said that, Alkem is into now building, like since the last 3-4 years, we are building a strategies in terms of looking at, should we look at our warehouses first or should we look at our other processes in terms of how do we actually have skewness in our sales, or looking at our sales numbers and planning numbers. Since the planning portfolio is there with me, it becomes a slightly easier thing, kind of a thing, where we are clearly saying that in the last 5 years we have not increased any warehouse space or any depot space. The reason being the norms were 45 days. Today we are saying that even if I keep for 40 days, can I still service my distributors on time? And the answer is yes. I am sure we today in many warehouses we have even 30 days of inventory or even 20 days of inventory, and we are able to serve that. Idea is from a process perspective saying that can we look at the skewness? Typically, maybe in other industries as well, like in pharma as well, what happens in the first week, second week, third week, we hardly do 40% of our sales. And in the last skewness, we do almost 60-70%. Last week, all the orders pour in and we are just entering those orders, executing those orders, sitting across day and day, night. Last 4 days are the ones where almost everything is done. Can we look at changing that is what we are looking at in terms of, do we know what the distributor inventory levels are? Are we actually just pushing stocks? Are we actually making sure they end up into, they get liquidated into the market, or they end up getting received back as returns or expiries as well? So in the last few years, I would say we've been able to stagnate the percentage at which the sales returns were happening. We're able to make sure that no increase in space is happening. We are looking at how do we digitize the order to cash instead of like hiring more and more manpower. Like our transactions have increased from almost like 60,000 orders in a month. For our domestic business, it has gone even to 150,000 orders in a month, and that too in the last day. So what we did was, like, instead of having operators keying every order, because one line item can have, I would say one order can have even up to like say 200, 300 line items of orders from a particular distributors. Now these are all automated thanks to COVID. When we launched our portal, Alkem Marketplace, that's where we have encouraged distributors. So today 91% of my orders are all digitized. Okay, so we don't spend time in terms of entering, doing the data entry activity. The same team is now looking at how do we look at efficiency picking up. Okay, at the same time, from a warehousing perspective, I think Piyush touched upon something to do on the process side. Okay, so we had SAP HANA. There were certain different thought processes, or perception was that we can't do certain, I would say, adherence processes when it comes to the WMS using SAP HANA. That was a myth, which actually using our internal team, our own team of experts, we actually solved that. Today, we have more or less paperless operations in our warehouses, wherein all the picking activity or packing activities are done paperless using a tab. Okay, and this is effectively working where we clearly come to know that, okay, how this is actually, the objective is that at the end of the day, warehousing definitely is important, but what is the experience? When I say we add value to our customers, okay, we are a B2B organization. Unlike e-commerce, like when you buy on Amazon, you are giving an experience to the customer saying that you get to know where your product is, when, who has picked it up, when it is going to come. Similar kind of experience is what we want to give to our distributors, where we are saying that when you, once you posted your orders on a Alkem marketplace solution, what is going to happen now is you know when the order is picked, when it was packed, and who has carried it. Of course, it has to be integrated with our TMS system as well, so that you create that experience. So this is the path that at Alkem we are driving to see that, okay, how we can also add value and thereby also consolidating as well, because many a times we don't even challenge the kind of orders. Now, for example, hospital orders, or for example, doctor dispensing orders that we get, and the MAQ was not set up. So we clearly said, boss, instead of buying a particular case, can you actually buy? So the number of orders, okay, the restriction today, when I say 1,50,000, this could have been 3 lakh transactions in a month. This has been reduced with intervention saying that, okay, can we look at your minimum order? Okay, if you're buying a particular SKU, you buy this much, so that the picking efficiencies also happen. Otherwise, you're transacting the same things. Okay, today it is also about whether the distributor is actually doing his business basis credit of yours. Okay, so we have to also do that kind of a difficult conversation with your distributors, with our distributors, in terms of saying that, okay, how do we actually manage it? So only from a warehousing perspective, yes, I would say the value would be burst limited. But actually, when you look at a larger, when you step back and you look at an overall process, you actually make a big difference. Okay, one of the most important element at Alkem that we're driving now is sustainability. Okay, whether in any transaction, and that's why we say paperless. The warehouses that we want to have, recently, I would say a couple of years back when we moved out, we looked at partners like FM and others as well, to say that, okay, how we can have a smart warehouses. Okay, in fact, CII has even certified that warehouse as a platinum grade kind of a thing, warehouse, wherein the myth was, you cannot have I would say a smart warehouse with a A-grade facility. Now nobody talks A-grade facilities in pharma. I'm especially talking about from an Indian pharmaceutical organization, but Alkem is looking at quality, because ultimately the products that we manufacture is getting consumed, is getting transported by various distribution channels, from distributors to the retailers, and from retailers to your patients. So the efficacy of the product, the quality at which they receive it, is also very important for us. Okay, so that's the whole, I would say, strategy that at Alkem we are adopting at the moment.
So Vijay, you already taken maybe post-COVID all 4 years, how exactly it evolved from that place to now. And I think that is the big fun in the supply chain, and still after spending few decades, you don't get bored, because every day when you hit the office, you have a different set of challenges and you come up with a different set of solutions also.
That's the kick, I would say, nowadays supply chain guys are actually getting. We are actually getting importance in the boardroom as well, where we are not only looking at cost saving. Cost saving is not by only talking to your service provider and saying that per pallet cost reduce karo, ya rentals reduce kijiye. It's not about that. It's about how in the same operations you can do double or triple the activities. Okay, when I say a turnover was almost, for a domestic business, was almost 320 crores. Today we are doing almost like 800 crores worth of business with the same manpower, within the same facility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we go to again the most complex retail supply chain. Ranjan, what are the challenges of the retail industry specifically to your own setup, and how you are harnessing those?
I think the biggest problem that we all face is as supply chain or logisticians is you're always asked to do more with less. Yeah. And that's always the case for everything. We want to generate more sales with less inventory. We want to generate more sales with more SKUs and still lesser inventories. We want to generate, do more throughput with lesser manpower, smaller space. So one side, everything has to keep going up. On the other side, everything has to keep going down, which is impacting the cost factor or which is impacting your working capital. That's a very, very key function that we all sit in between and keep solving every day in our life. And that's the biggest ask that we have to solve for. I think ours is no different. Ours is almost a similar thing where we are on one side where we are continuously increasing on in terms of the number of brands that we operate, the sales that we have to do, the number of channels that we operate, the number of SKUs that we are handling for the same brands as well. And remember, we are lifestyle brands. So when you cater to entire lifestyle of a family, because we have 2 menswear brands, 2 women's wear, and 2 kids wear, which means that we are catering to an entire family. Anything and everything above a 2 years old to the person who is on his deathbed, we are almost trying to cater for everything. Right from his clothing to his shoes, to his bags, to his wallets, to everything. That adds complexity because everything has a different way of storing it, handling it, and delivering it. On the other side, there is a different challenge that we're facing is a constraint which we are facing is every day the time to market is going down, or the response time is going down, and the worst impact of this is all demand planning has actually gone out of the window. The reality is that you really cannot predict, you really cannot fathom, or we used to have a very, very strong pre-season planning concept. Today the pre-season planning concept is largely at a very holistic number. You have to be much more closer. Our cycle in fashion used to be almost about 9 months ahead. Though we used to call ourselves fast fashion players. Today, our cycle has actually come down to about 45 to 50 days. We have to deliver merchandise within about 25 to 30 days from a concept to a shop floor. That's the complexity that we are adding. And with different channels, the demands for each of them could be different because each of their nuances could be different in terms of how you are picking, how you are packing. And good part is the inventory pool is the same. It's a common inventory which you are showcasing to everyone. And whether it's your own exclusive stores, you have to manage the exclusive stores' needs, which could be different, versus a B2C customer whose needs could be different. And in the B2C space as well, we run almost about 6 partners that we operate for. Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, Ajio, Nykaa, Tata Click. And then our own e-commerce. All of them have different norms. All of them have their different cutoff times, where we used to operate about 1,500 odd orders a day few years back. Today we ship almost about, on an average we ship on a BAU day, we will ship anywhere about 10 to 12,000 orders a day. And in the peaks it goes up to anywhere about 50,000 plus because it goes anywhere above 5x. That's the complexity that we have to offer, address. And I think the good part of it is we consciously decided that we would want to run and operate one distribution center ourselves, which also keeps us always on the edge in terms of being able to think through and always understand the pain of, because it was very easy to go to a service provider and tell him and then beat him to death saying, why have you not done this? But when you do it yourself and you're dirtying your hands yourself, then you really go through that pain yourself every day. And that's what we are doing, and hence working with partners as well, because we operate one distribution center ourselves and another one is operated by one of our partners. It becomes much more easier to be able to bring in the newer processes and mind you, technology, while we keep talking, we need to embed more and more technology. It doesn't come cheap. There isn't an entry barrier anymore because of the software as a service models which have evolved with cloud which has come in. But then there could be a very, very large exit barrier that you might have, and you need to be able to calculate and think through very early in the stage in terms of saying which way to go, because the moment you talk of one problem, there will be thousands of vendors who will come up and say, hey, I will be able to solve you. You need to figure out who is the right guy to be able to solve your problem for the day, for the kind of things that you are doing, because what will work in a industry will not work in another industry. A classic case I'll tell you, We operate shoes as well, leather shoes. We used to store a lot of shoes in West as well as in North. And what we realized was over a period of time, suddenly 30 days later, if something has not moved out, the leather shoes would start catching fungus in Mumbai because of the weather conditions. Now you need to find a solution to it, which is not a problem at all in the North when you're handling it from there. So you have to be always on your feet to be able to address these problems when these kinds of things are happening. The e-commerce partners, every day they are changing their own norms. There is a classic case, I'm sure whoever operates e-commerce with any of these partners, they would understand the SPF claim process. That's the most notorious process that you can actually, this is a money-making process for all these e-commerce guys, I keep telling them. Because that's the best way for them to make money out of not allowing you to claim for their mistakes. They will always find a way to be able to deny you a claim, and you need to be ahead of times to be able to foresee, understand their norms in terms of how they are changing their claims processes, how do you need to adhere, and that's where I think robotics, two ways. One is the physical robotic or the humanoid robotics, that's important, which will solve a lot of the process on the floor. But what is important is bringing in that transparency and that speed in the process itself. Because if you are operating through multiple systems, a lot of partner systems, using RPAs to be able to bring in humanoid software bots to be able to solve a lot of those problems and complexities, which many a times reduces your human dependency and predictability itself. Then being able to embed AI into your models, which is helping you to predict slightly better. Maybe not, it's still not reached an accuracy level, but slightly better to be able to tell you at least how do you need to plan your manpower in the next week. We've been able to reduce our manpower in our B1T DC almost by about 50% in the last 3 years. I look at the peak of 3 years back. Today, if I look at the same facility, more than what we used to do in terms of throughput, more inventory we used to handle with almost 50% of manpower. It's just because we are optimizing our processes every day, because that's the key. You have to keep looking at the processes. You have to have smart people in your teams to be able to keep looking at the processes on a day in and day out. And that's where Piyush pointed out. If you don't work on your processes right and don't keep fixing them, and let's not wait for making them the best of the processes, they will never be. A process is every day evolving. And you have to be flexible enough to be able to change with that and keep changing that process and bring in a lot of flexibility and agility into your processes so that you can respond to different market conditions, different demands, different channels will have different nuances, different demands, and most of the times the peaks are going to be the same for all the channels because you're sitting in fashion. It's the same customer who is either ordering from an e-commerce or who is going into your trade channels or into your own stores or your shop-in-shops, whichever channels they go in, it's the same time. दिवाली में ही जाना है उसको दशहरा में ही जाके शॉपिंग करना है कपड़ा का अगर शॉपिंग करना है तो. So he will not find another time, right? All the channels will actually peak at the same time. How do you keep reducing and replenish it much more faster? We used to replenish it once a week. Today we replenish every day. Today we are moving to, our aim is to move to about being able to service 80% of our retail chain, deliver either the same day or latest by the next morning. That's a model that we are working. We are almost about 50%. It's a tough task. It's a Herculean task. But I'm sure we will be able to solve that.
I think a lot of complexity, and these complexities are created by the customers. The challenge which we need to see is that whether customer is paying for those deliverables, because when somebody is, let's say, expecting 2 days, which is 48 hours, to now 48 minutes, it has a huge cost back end as a supply chain. We need to see as a businessman, not as only supply chain people, whether exactly we are getting the margins from that particular service also not. But then challenge is also is that competition is doing it. Yeah. So everybody is bleeding. So I think we need to possibly see what can be solution together so that it's a win-win situation.
No, I think the other challenge is if you look at, for us, we are not a company who would want to be listed. We don't have any other stakeholders except our owner. He is the only person who we need to go and answer to. and he's not looking for valuation for sure. Which means that we are not chasing that valuation game of acquiring hundreds and thousands and millions of customers. But what we are always chasing is a profitable business, still fighting with the models of a lot of these e-commerce companies who are bleeding to death every day, every order that they service. We started charging customers on a lower value item, on a lower order value, to the tune of about $6.99. I remember this was almost about 2 years back. Customers were not at all hesitant. The customers are willing to pay. Today you'll be surprised. We started 2 years back at from $6.99. Today we charge any order which is less than $24.99. We charge 99 rupees to the customer, and the customer is willing to pay. We are now working on models where we should be able to identify customers who are frequent customers who are returning the merchandise, because in our business 40% is return, and a lot of that return comes because people find it so easy to just go and place an order and then return it back. Return management is the biggest nightmare for any retailer or any fashion player, if you ask, because of their own nuances. To add to that, we also do a lot of omni-channel, because which means that we are fulfilling from our retail stores. Almost 300 plus retail stores is what we fulfill from. But I think you'll have to create those barriers, and the customers are willing to pay. Don't we pay for Zomato? We do pay for Zomato. If we need something to be delivered faster, we obviously are willing to pay that extra money. I think you'll have to bite that bullet and take that first step of saying, no, we are not going to give you free lunches. If you want a free delivery, 6 days delivery, 5 days delivery, 3 days delivery is good enough. That's what you're going to get for free. But if you want a 2 hours delivery or a 1 hour delivery, you have to pay for it, and the customer, if he really needs it, he will pay for it for sure.
But again, it is revolve around what is the value proposition you are creating, so that customer is ready to pay for this.
Absolutely.
But from this very, very glamorous industry to not so glamorous, but very, very essential industry, which is about the Ultratech. So, Dhirendra?
Yeah, thank you, Ajit. So, I would like to start 2 points takeaway from Ranjan has told, which is very catchy, something like customer is actually ready to pay higher when there is a value proposition. So I have come across something like 30% of the customer, one survey is there, they are willing to pay higher if the demand and the supply is on the time. So another point which he has told, that is process improvement, flexibility, something which is a core. So a industry like construction, chemicals and construction industry, yes, throughput is very high, and no more it is a low SKUs form. So a lot of value added points, value added business has been added to in cement as well. So in building product, like we are rightly operating with almost 200 plus SKUs, and it is going to be, and many years this is because as it is a engineering product. So with time, a lot of new product get added, and a lot of product get obsolete. So a smart warehousing is a critical need to understand what is the stock you need to carry, because the demand is something which is, if a new value added product has been added, then immediately that product which may be available in your godowns, you may need to be have it more reprocessing, or you may to discard those things. So in all process, so it is very critical when you are dealing with a sector where customer requirement is something like they want is today, means it is a requirement for today only. Because a lot of other things like what in a construction, other things like labors are also involved in this. So now the wages and things are so high. So when it goes to any sites or when you go to any places where the construction activity is going on, they want the product on time. And when the product is, because all other costs are associated with it. So serving a customer has become more critical. So what exactly we have taken up? To have this, we have make sure that our proximity to customers should be a better way to my competitions. So whenever the customer requires, they should get the material at their doorstep. We have across 500 small warehousing, where operated by our own distributors, and where the product, that once the product order comes, they hardly 5 to 6 hours they could able to place. Rather then the other point has comes that when the plant is there, the plant is in plants also, the storage has become more and more critical, because in plants you are having need of storage of the inbounds, you are need of the storage of voluminous packaging product. Then there are certain storage like construction, the sands, these they also take a lot of volume. Besides that, your finished good, rightly told, it is 100 plus, 300 plus various SKUs are you are handling. So a smart warehousing is a very critical for the plant prospects. Like when a truck will come, this will not come with the orders placed. Mostly in our industry, the total number of SKUs in a single truck, can imagine it is almost 10 plus. So having all product, if a single product is or single SKU is not available, then entire order got delayed. So getting all those product and the production accordingly, and make a mix or clubbing and then place the trucks and the movements happen. So these are some things which becoming more and more challenging, and because of such software and which help and enable us to have a control on the production as well as with the distributions. I understood a lot of similar industry mates also there in this forum. So this is challenge in each and every high volume product, because we know that our products are very high volume. Similarly, it is also with the complexity where the clubbing and in fact there are certain other ways, like when the material goes and then a repeated orders also come. So understanding the criticality, whether it is a new order which we are executing or whether it is a repeated order we are executing. So accordingly our nature of strategy to supply also getting frequently changing. Though I could able to say that there are certain ways like the multiple vendors are supplying packaging. So a single bag is also very critical for us, whether it is getting at the last mile it is getting delivered or not. So what exactly we are thinking of, how can we make a tracking of each and every bags which getting produced, that at the last mile whether it has moved and the last mile received the bag in right conditions, in consumable condition. So these are a lot, few more innovations in terms of digitization we are thinking of, and few of those we have already implemented, and we have few of our vendors here also in this forum who has given a lot of solutions which we are in process.
Sure. Thanks, Dhirendra. So we reach to now Sagar, which is a completely different industry, food, very perishable and quite challenging. So Sagar, like to understand the challenges of your industry and how you are harnessing those.
So yeah, thank you, Ajit. So to be honest, since you have said perishable, we are not in a perishable kind of business. We make our supply chain so non-perishable friendly so that we can't face those challenges which other players like in a burger or pizza players are facing. We are not facing those challenges. So yeah, so being from a QSR industry, first of all, I would like to shed some lights on why smart warehousing is a need of time for the QSR space. So currently, due to a cutthroat competition in the food space, keeping a customer-centric approach is becoming a crucial and necessity for each and every player. So to achieve that, to achieve a best-in-class customer experience, every player is highly investing in CRM tools. These CRM tools are ultimately generating a huge amount of data in terms of customer attribution, then customer loyalties, repeat purchases, behavior patterns, and etc. So just for an example, every year on 19 July, Belgian Waffle celebrates a National Waffle Day. So on this particular day, we sell every waffle at ₹100. So from our CRM data and historical trends, we observed that on this single particular day, our sales surges by 8 to 10 times of our average daily sales. So ultimately, to cater all these sudden spikes and fluctuating demand, from supply chain angle, we need to prepare from very much in advance. Secondly, Since Waffle comes in a desert category and that to a western desert, so most of our target group comes from Gen Zs and millennials. And this particular target group is very much sensitive towards the aesthetic parameters. So we can't store a huge stock in the stores to to maintain the look and feel of the outlets. So ultimately, entire pressure comes towards the back end, where we have to digitize and automate our operations so that we can give a proper frequency to the outlets. So in last 4 years, our indent frequency have been increased from once in a month to twice in a week. So then ultimately to solve all these business challenges, digitization is the necessity of the time. And how we are solving it? So we are making a use of AI algorithms and machine learning tools through which we are studying the historical trends. Then we are trying to improve our picking accuracy and efficiency so that we can easily analyze the order patterns at warehouse level as well as store levels. Then few of our ingredients they are not perishable, but they are temperature sensitive. So we are also making a use of IoT based solutions so that we can track our these key ingredients in our fleet and warehouse, considering the humidity and temperature parameters. So yeah, these are the initiatives taken by player like Belgian Waffle to solve these business problems. Yeah.
Thanks, Sagar.
Thank
And
you.
that's the reason I always think myself blessed because I am representing the supply chain company side. I represent FM Logistics. We provide an optimized solution to the customers by using technology, supported by 5,000 people in India, about 80 lakh square feet warehousing, and supporting 500 vehicles every day with the control tower and high-tech technology. The reason why we are excited because we manage couple of these verticals with the same set of people, of solutions engineers and the executors, which keeps us on the toes. But then challenge is that we need to have some standardization in terms of the WMS and TMS so that we can able to configure that to the different supply chains what we are talking about. I think we always talk about the successes, but one tricky question which I'm going to ask to the panelists now and is that about the failures. Nobody talks about failures, and supply chain we experiment 10 things, 7 works, 3 fail possibly, and every industry or every company may have a different ratio. So I like to understand, have you faced any failure in terms of technology, people, planning, any aspect which is related to supply chain where you understood that in early stage and then you recorrected that? I think that will be more interesting for the audience to fail, because we all learn from our own failures, but I think the smart guys learn from the other failures. So over to you, Sri.
Thanks, Ajit. I think the one who introspects more on failure is likely not to make it again. Just to give a context, Biostove operates 2 kinds of warehouses. One are those warehouses which are associated with our own manufacturing facilities, which we don't outsource to anyone. So that basically gives us a lot of leverage in terms of experimentation and kind of failing, if I put it very politely. Whereas all the distribution centers which are very close to the customers are usually operated by third-party LSPs, and those are majorly set processes which don't require a lot of experimentation. What we had tried in the past, as I mentioned in my previous round, there are just 2 problems that we are trying to solve. One is, can I increase the throughput with the existing facility without compromising on quality? When we did a lot of implementation, at least at a pilot stage or a concept stage, like we tried some exoskeleton to kind of enable loading. We have in fact at a conceptual level tried if drones can actually maintain the warehouse hygienes. We failed in some of those cases. The primary reason, if I may put it, is 2. So one, on the technology aspect, if you look at the entire value chain, right from supply chain, demand planning, supply planning, manufacturing, primary transportation, distribution, technology has proliferated like anything. So people do talk about artificial intelligence, which Sagar was mentioning, the demand forecasting, etc. But in the entire flow, when the item reaches warehouse, it's like it has faced a speed bump, because the technology is not truly integrated. And what we as a company, I can talk for my previous company also, is we can do better is, while we are very good at collecting and storing large volumes of data, we have not democratized it yet. Yeah? What I mean by that is we don't have a stack of information, if I may put it, tech stack on which you can build systems on top. So what then it becomes is, if I want to try something, then basically it becomes like a technology experiment for a high enthusiastic guy, which might not really give us a benefit. But what we found us to be truly value adding in the smart warehousing space is in the area of sustainability. What I mean by that is, some of the products that we sell are in fact temperature, or you can say environment sensitive. Our learning has been that while the traditional SCADA systems or process systems do monitor your temperature, etc., what we have now done is we have built smart models basically saying that these are the parameters that you need to maintain, whereas the input that goes into it, you do it in a smart way. So there are algorithms which learn at what flow of air, at what humidity, at what temperature do my product maintain the characteristics. So that we have been fairly successful, so that, just to put a number, some 30-40% reduction in a per tonnage energy consumption, if I may put it that way. Another interesting space where we leverage this technology to a great deal, especially in smart warehousing space, is the emergence of what you may call it as solar panel, because the government regulation in different states are in itself very different, right? It's not really attractive for us to generate power and then feed it back to the grid, because the rate at which you get from the grid is significantly higher than what you feed it back. So then that's where some of these smart technologies which come in, which based on your location and the cloud and the radar pattern is able to predict what's going to be the energy intensity of sun on that particular day. And if so, what are those equipments that needs to be operated via solar? And what are those that only have to be operated through the power that I take from grid? And needless to say, if there is a Sunday and you don't do anything of it, everything goes back to the grid. So significant optimization we have done in one of the manufacturing plant where 60% of the energy that we spend is actually solar. Yeah. So just to summarize, warehouse automation space, not so successful because we don't have enough data available to everyone. And again, one important aspect is maybe we as an Indians are so ingrained in our education that we treat it like a god, that something I learned, I have to remember it for my lifetime. We as a manager, what we face is a problem is people are not willing to unlearn and relearn, which is a very big problem, because unlearning does not mean that you forget everything. You just change your perspective to take in the new realities. So what we do now to compensate for that is we consciously hire, whenever an opportunity present, a data or a technology enabled version of it. See, for example, today, if I want to recruit someone to head my planning, I don't look at it as a head of planning role. I look at it as a product owner with some amount of experience in planning. So he's technically a technocrat with some element of planning. In fact, I would be more keen hiring a technology guy rather than a planning guy, because I can teach him planning. I cannot teach him technology. Yeah? That is learning. And one small learning which I also think is, so we as a country, I think, barring the last 5 years, we have not truly leveraged our startup potential. Yeah. So we as multinational come with a perception that you have to go to the Oracles or the SAPs of the world to get the things moving. But what we realize is that for the companies in India, could be any industry, we really need bespoke solutions. Yeah, which these big tech companies don't really have it. And there are a lot of startups which we basically as a company have to lower our entry barriers in terms of prior experience, etc. And these people are also willing to experiment, learn with us, and ultimately are owning up and delivering solution. That's another learning. So you are most likely to succeed if you work with a startup with the right mentality rather than going to an established player. It's okay, you can start something at a low stage. Probably when you gain scale, you can mass mobilize it to the bigger company, but suggestion is always start with a startup.
Thanks, Sri. Vijay, over to you.
Yeah, there were many failures, but which led to success as well. I will give one example as I give a background that at Alkem, many of our facilities are managed by ourselves. So when I joined initially, I said, let's look at, so there was also at the management level, we were asked some good questions in some of how do we can optimize cost. So we looked at for an RFQ and said, why can't we shift one of the operations and try and see how we can work on a 3PL model. Everything happened and we finalized through RFQ 3PL. Onboarding exercise was done, they understood the operations, And yeah, the moment the operation started, okay, and when we had to actually exit from our existing facility where we were operating and moving our stocks in, it was more of a Herculean task, because at the same time there were finished goods which had to be dispatched out of that new warehouse. And though we decided on phases, but on the ground there were a lot of, I would say, firefighting which happened. This went on for almost, though there was slight improvement, but this went on for almost 3 to 6 months of time. Finally, we took a decision, we go back to where we were, okay? Then we said, let's retrospect what happened, okay? And a lot of things, I would say 10 to 20% it was from people issue. And this has a lot to do with the change management. And I think where I felt that as a functional head, I could have also been more communicative with the team, okay? So one of the things which happened was understanding of the processes and signing off on that particular processes, which did not happen. SOPs were exchanged, but when we looked at the implementation piece, the operations which we had was on the, we were doing a ground floor operations, and the operations which we were transitioning, because it was a box in box out operation, was on a vertical side. So using stackers and yeah, fantastic A grade operations, everything. One of the key element I felt which actually made this project unsuccessful was there was fear in people, okay, saying that we will lose our jobs, okay, and the information exchange, that communication exchange was, I would say, clearly missing, okay, since I was remote working in typical head office, what's happening on the ground, and I would like spend at least 4 months, 5 months of the time saying, hearing my team's version and hearing the 3PL's version, okay. So this is how it happened. Having said that, we learned from our mistakes. I improved on my communication thing, trying to say that, okay, you are here to stay, okay, but only slight change in that. If you're here to adapt to the changes, there are a lot of things to do. So that time, I would say we did not have digitized the order to cash processes, digitization of warehousing did not happen, or the front ending part, like where the team members are talking to the distributors now, okay. So all these changes happened because like we were also communicating, saying that what you're doing today, which is 100% today, will eventually tie down to 25% of the activity, and 75% of the activity will be newer things that you actually would be working on the forefront, which will help us know what is the stock levels, what is the expiry levels, how orders are getting processed, and all that, and leave this particular element which is also cost sensitive to the experts who would also manage it, okay. So that's how we transitioned. When we transitioned into our next project, the transition, initially we clearly knew that we would have some kind of a transition, because in pharma it is not only each picking, but a particular product with a particular batch number is also very critical for us, okay. So if that is not picked, we will also consider it as a customer complaint, or I would say not the first time right pick or not pack kind of a thing. So we made a parameter stringent. So initially the first month the complaint ratio was 69, and after the second and third month it died down to almost 3 and 5. Today we have less than 5 complaints every month that we actually operate. So we work on a 99.85% of accuracy level from the new warehouse, where we not only moved up by reducing the, I would say, where we went vertical by reducing the space of the warehouse, but we are now working effectively. So anything which happens from that warehouse, we have nothing to do. My team is more focused on the front ending activities, and more auditing the facility, trying to say what are the safety parameters, orders, if it has come before 12 o'clock, why it is not getting dispatched, and all those kind of more kind of control mechanism was built in. So they were more, I would say, it was the review mechanism, I would say, improved, and their job also enriched. So this is one example
Yeah, I
that
think
I wanted to
every
share.
supply chain is a change management product. It is, I think, a lot of challenges when we implement, we see from the people side, either from the customer or maybe one service provider or maybe technology mismatch. So I think these are the two major areas we have a challenge. Ranjan?
I think I'll, due to the paucity of time, I'll only give one example. So, one of the areas that we, when we started operation in our new facility, good time to start new operation. We started on 1st of February, and then without even setting up the whole facility, we were locked down for COVID. Then we had to transition from 6 different distribution centers, for which the original plan was about 8 months. We had to do it in 4 months. Good situation to be in during COVID, where we don't have people. So in our eagerness to be able to scale up the business, we focus more on the forward process or the outbound process and the fresh inbound process. Where we missed out was on a returns management process. What we realized a year later is it was a chaos. We were losing a lot of money. We ended up losing almost about a writing of almost about 60,000 pieces, which would turn out to be a few crores. And that opened our eyes in terms of saying we need to focus on it. That was a big mistake that we did. One more example I'll give, a very small one, is when we started the e-commerce operation, we thought that only the customer will ask for an evidence in the returns process, saying when you go back and challenge the customer saying that you have returned a wrong product, he will only challenge you there. We never anticipated that the customer might also come back and challenge you saying, hey, you shipped me a wrong product. And we realized it much later, and what we did was, we while receiving as a returns process, we had everything covered under the camera, and we were able to produce an evidence to the customer back. We went back to doing the same thing even in a forward order processing, saying everything will be recorded, and the entire packaging process is recording, the invoicing process is recorded, so that we are able to produce that as an evidence to the consumer saying, hey, we've shipped the right product, you have returned back a wrong product to us. So I think key mistakes that we make when we don't evaluate the process end to end, because we only become too myopic in terms of looking at a process more from one lens, which becomes a burning issue, without evaluating that there could be other problems which you could solve with the same solution as well, and there could be problems which would come up in the overall scheme of things. So yeah, that's where obviously we made many more mistakes. Yeah. I would not hesitate to say that, but I think they're all a part of the learning process. The more work you do, the more mistakes you're going to make.
Yeah, thanks Ranjan. Dhirendra?
Yeah, thank you, Ajit. Yeah, it's true. When we have a lot of success story, challenges are inevitable. So the part of journey from we have scaled up multifold in couple of years, and we face a lot of in the way challenges. But I want to quote few of the challenges recently we are having with. Like I talked about that warehousing where inbounds and outbounds, all those things has to be kept in one roof. So the biggest challenges which we are having, like the product types, the SKUs and all are different types. We have things are like in bottles, we have cartons, we have pails, we have bags. So when you are a mix up, you can call it a mixture of product. So tracking is something where we have tried few things like visual way, how can be tracked. We click a photo, then the number of SKUs, the number of counts can automatically come. But still it is unanswered. I would very much interested if the solution is available in this hall, or any of my co-panelists who has already gone through this. So this is something which is we are looking for. The other way, like we talked about that space utilization in smart warehousing. The another challenge not related to the warehousing, in fleet also when we send material, when there is a mix of product SKUs, so that your bags and your pails and your bottles, So optimum utilizations is, we have done certain ways like putting plywoods and all those things. But a concrete solution is expected to the industry which we are for. So this is some things, and the learnings are already there, which we have implemented by putting, like I talked about, the plywoods things we have used. In godowns also, we moved into ML and AI so that the historical trends and the need of the customer market with the seasonal impact could help us to retain the product and make sure that the first expiry, first out can follow.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dhirendra. And Piyush is not expecting this question to him, but still I'm asking him now. Any mistakes, any errors, any big goof-ups?
There are projects where we implemented projects and then we face challenges from our customer side. So one of the project was where the customer, like Vijay highlighted, that they were transitioning from their old warehouse to the new warehouse, to the new, I would say, state of the art at that point of time, to move that warehouse, but they did not anticipated the challenges very well in advance, and due to some reasons or the other internal reasons, they have a date fixed by the CEO, and there is no choice. So they have shipped the entire material. So almost some 300 trucks were lined outside the warehouse. The facility does not have enough number of pallets to unload the material. So the entire truck yard was filled with the material. And inside warehouse also, this is for auto spares, by the way. And the inside of the warehouse also it was filled. And now there was a Herculean task to sort this out. So for us to sort this entire system, it took almost 6 to 8 months, right, to streamline. Because at that point of time, we were responsible for designing, implementation and handing it over to the customer. So we were there with the customer to support them, even though whatever issues we faced. But yes, certain things happens, and this gives a big dent to the organization itself.
Yeah. And I can imagine 300 vehicles in front of your warehouse, specifically in automotive spares, is quite challenging. But thanks for sharing that, Piyush. Sagar?
Rather than failures, I will highlight some challenges during implementation of these tech solutions. So every time we go up with these tech implementations, we need to integrate the data with multiple existing systems within the universe. So what happens if there is no right data at the right place? It will always be a garbage in and garbage out, and ultimately you will not get the results what you want. Secondly, as an industry, we are adopting all these tech solutions in a rapid way, but in parallel, we are not generating a skillful labor to run this mechanism. So as Shri also mentioned that he will prefer a tech guy over a SCM guy so that there should be expertise. Yeah, this is one of the challenge of training and development of the skillful labor during these implementations.
So Ranjan must be very happy. Everybody is saying that the tech guys are more in demand. Yeah. So I think with this all interaction, I think we could not able to even understand. We reached to the end of the panel discussion. But then I like to take maybe few questions, few comments, if you have in the audience. We have only 5 minutes left, but please.
In pharma, one of the things, not only for pharma and others, you can enlighten us that whether end-to-end automation will bring more efficiency, and that will reduce failures also. So one of the things like your distributors. So if the distributors are also in the same system, connected with the company's system, then some of the places like in pharma industry, it is the responsibility of the manufacturer to create demand, and the distributor can anytime return the material back to the company because and ask for credit notes. So if the systems are also there, at least a category system, has there been any effort on that system? That is the first question. Second question is that the problem which we are facing, with respect to last week, the night before the examination is the most important night. So last date of the invoicing, where 60% of the invoices are created. Has there been any effort? You know, I have faced the same system in Glaxo. I used to look after the distribution. But is it possible to change the last date? At the beginning of the year, the last date is not necessarily the last date of the calendar month. That is a separate date month-wise, so that the psychological barrier is, and the computer system can take care of that. That beyond that, invoicing will not be taking place. And last question is that in pharma, you have got also repacking involved. With a case lot and repacking, it takes a lot of time. And how this could be reduced so that efficiency in the warehousing can be increased. You can throw some light on this, please.
Thank you for those questions, sir. With regards to the system, the right systems can be used where the company can create a system. In pharma, I would say, unlike FMCG, okay, where I would say the players are more in pharma. And from an ERP perspective, if you look at, again, here I would say the technology peoples are to be blamed here, because there was a time in the 90s, early 90s, 80s to early 90s, where every parents wanted to send their sons or kids to the only one area, which is like either do a computer science or do some programming language and other thing, because it was an IT boom altogether. And pharma companies have utilized that, okay? So when we assess the situation, saying that it's not that Alkem did not try to get their systems implemented across to all those 11,000 distributors, our main challenge was that in the industry, unlike SAP, when you actually have, it's common across all majority of the institutions or organizations. But in pharma, particularly in India, if I look at the ERP vendors, any guesswork how many ERP vendors could be there? More than 200. More than 200 ERP vendors are there. And of course, there are top 10 ERP vendors who hold almost like 40-45% of the share, but I have distributors, like two, three distributors who have vendors who have like the local guys just next door who has developed the systems for them. Okay, anything changes has developed. We in fact went ahead and collaborated with one of the ERP vendors to tell our distributors, saying that okay, we will create a system for you and you can utilize it so that like I can auto replenish my products to you, looking at the inventory levels that's lying with you. The answer was very difficult for him, because one distributors will at least have 30 to 40 pharma companies operating with him. That was the biggest challenge, saying that agar Alkem खुद का system लेके आ रहा है, it would be an Herculean task to work in 40 different systems. So standardization was one of an issue. So what we are now doing is to solve this problem. Last year we started with an initiative called channel partner management, where we are looking at integrating with at least 80% of 80% of our stockists, actually not 80% of stockists, 40% of our stockists who contribute to 80% of our business. And there we are looking at integrating with their ERP vendors so that we start receiving information on a daily basis. So this is a project, again, it has a lot of challenges since you come from pharma industry, you know your own salesperson, okay, if we get to know where the goods are getting sold, what will happen, okay? So we will all get to know the trade secrets. But having said that, we have started with this initiative. This project is backed by our founders as well to make sure we get the secondary sales visibility as well. Question number 2 in terms of the skewness is also present in this project, wherein as a pilot for at least for our hospitals, distributions, what we have said to our stockist, where we have integrated with their systems, where we are saying that at any given point of time you would hold 15 to 25 days of inventory, and the moment it comes below 10 days we will auto replenish, okay, rather than hospital giving the order, they placing the order, I'm shipping it here. It's like becoming more of a struggle. So the number of orders which I just talked about in my previous inputs, this is how we actually have decreased. And few of the large stockists, large format stockists like Apollo, MedPlus, and the other chains is also we have integrated, where we're talking about bulk orders to be received on a weekly basis. So that's how we have transitioned. But to the point saying that whether it has increased drastically, today it has not, but yeah, we have an ambition of making sure that, okay, we have 20, 25, 20 and 25% of sales happening on a regular basis, which we expect that by end of next year, though it is a very Herculean task, but yeah, we are taking that challenge to see that, okay, how do we make it, okay? I hope I have answered your question, sir.
You can provide some incentive to the medical representatives who achieve that sort of you are not going to students and the regular sales.
Yeah, the idea is, sir, today there is something called as, if anyone is going, if the sales performance is measured basis your primary sales, what your distributor is buying, that is a biasness, okay? I just talked about the change management, which I tell my team, saying that you have a lot of work on the front end, which means that Alkem is looking at the distribution team to take over this particular role, saying that the sales representative should focus more on generating prescription, which means visit to the doctors and the retailers, and the stockist, you leave it to us. We'll manage that. So that's the objective of the entire CPM project that we have as of now. Yeah?
So thanks, Vijay. We'll take maybe one last question because of the time constraint, if you have. If no, then I think I'd like to conclude the session. Thank you very much for the panelists, and of course for you, because for the patient hearing, and of course bearing with us for almost like 2 hours. And I'm very sure that there may be some insight which can learn from you during our breakout session. So thank you very much. And I wish maybe the next session, again, a great success. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you. Bye.